shooter and not a first-person shooter, it is just outside enough of that FPS vibe I've wanted to try and curate here across multiple titles in recent years. It doesn't really fit the mold per se, but also it's something I'm personally super stoked for that's still a shooter and I want to talk about. So at least here today we're going to do that. Embark Studios dropped what I think is perhaps the best alpha-level game in recent years, then dipped with no additional mention of when players will be able to get their hands on it again, or more importantly to a lot of people, a release date. So far, we're still left wondering, but they've seemingly started to drop some hints here and there about what to expect for either more information or perhaps even a release of some kind. Arc Raiders was playable on PC via Steam. Not to mention it was available on console as well, but for the PC port, it was available via Steam. Something that has a very publicly accessible database. You can check updates to game versions and things like that. Well, despite the game being removed from the latest playtest build, the database, and if you perhaps still had it installed in your library, got an update for the game. Said to last only 9 minutes, it added a new exe file, an executable, and something that would launch if interacted with. Now, if you open this up, it would display a window with base 64 strings along with a sort of scroll program that had a play now button that would move around your screen anytime you were close to actually clicking it, so you couldn't actually hit play now. But the key thing with this was those base 64 strings. These were on rotation, flashing different messages here that if you decoded them, well, it'd be something that gave you a little more information. The following messages, when decrypted, go in increasing levels of interest. One said enlist.resist, which is the tagline of the game. Another led to arcraiders.com, the main site for the game. Another led to youtube.com/@arcraidersgame, the main video hub. Then another was the Steam Store application link, so the landing page for where you could download the game on PC. And all of this is kind of pretty standard. Makes sense, it's just kind of like below surface level marketing that if you looked far enough in, it wasn't all for naught at that point. Like you had something that was derived out of these codes. But then it starts to get more and more interesting with some of these, because one said, coming soon, which makes sense. We know that it is coming soon, we just don't know how soon. Another one said, I'm not telling you a release date, smiley face. Almost as whoever wrote this update knows they're just playing with us at this point. Another decoded simply to 2025/XX/YY, denoting a 2025 release window, but no information on the day or month. And a final one led to a link with a countdown timer that is set to end on Friday, June 6th, 2025 at 5 p.m. So okay, it sure seems like we're getting somewhere and we're getting something, especially at a countdown date built within the actual game files itself. But this isn't something that someone spoofed. It was from the official Steam database and directory for Arc Raiders. So this seemingly means something. What? That's still up for debate. But it gets even crazier and feeds into this idea of something important happening here that's tangible in nature because, well, June 6th at 5 p.m. is also notably the start of Summer Game Fest and a live event there. A broadcast that will be showcasing new and upcoming games for the rest of the year and sometimes beyond into 2026 and perhaps even later. That's not a coincidence in my mind to coincide with the premier game showcase for the summer on all platforms. Like, the Xbox game showcase is 2 days later, sure, but that's the sort of Xbox-only and Microsoft first-party things. This is for the industry at large, not just one platform. It's the premier showcase for the summer. Later on, we'll end up having Gamescom in August. The Game Awards also launch, talking about the year following in December, where they give world premieres while also celebrating the year of gaming. But this, it's interesting. Especially because, following up the original edit a few days back, it's now officially confirmed that Embark will be participating in Summer Game Fest. Sure, it could be for the finals, but that's not going to be the case. So my question now turns to, and a lot of other people's question turns to, will this be a launch, a reveal, or something else entirely? While I think that it's likely a coin flip, like it really could go either way here, I think, I'm partially more inclined to think this might be a reveal. Not necessarily a full release and not something that is necessarily just like, hey, this is a little teaser string along a little further. The tease of not telling release dates, you point towards social media platforms and official channels, most significantly the YouTube of the game where trailers would be posted. I kind of think this might be a case of hyping up a reveal trailer for those that want to dig deeper and try and find the secrets hidden beneath the surface. If that's the case, this will probably be a trailer that showcases a bit more of the content coming, a bit more of just some of the things you can expect to do in the game, and perhaps then, finally, that release date, maybe also a notification of a beta or something if there's anything else coming before then. There were some public mentions that seems to be a thing, with a beta more open to everybody rather than a more limited tech test. But alternatively, as someone who really wants to jump into this, I'm also kind of hoping that this could have a chance to be the release date. For those that don't know, Embark has a short history, but albeit history no less, of shadow dropping games, and more importantly, to the situation at hand that could be repeated. Shadow dropping games at a game showcase specifically hosted by Jeff Keighley, who hosts things like Summer Game Fest in June, Opening Night Live for Gamescom in August, and the Game Awards in December. In 2023, as a part of the Game Awards, Embark, out of nowhere, dropped their first game as a studio, one that you're probably still familiar with, of The Finals. As one of the last slots of the show's presentations, they dropped a trailer where, as it was being presented, the representative from Embark said to stick around to the end of the trailer for a launch date that may be sooner than you expect. And sure enough, at the end of that reveal trailer, it was also something that then became the launch trailer because it was live and playable right after that went live. So the Hopium player in me would love for this to be the case again. Another worldwide showcase of new games, another trailer that could be linked back to what we just mentioned, of all their socials, another possible shadow drop. Now, while the outcome of this presentation is seemingly up in the air, I don't think that there's any doubt now that we will see something happen on the 6th and this presentation for Summer Game Fest. Whether it be a reveal trailer, a shadow drop, or something else entirely, but it's update to the game in the directory to have a new application that will mess with you and will make sure that you look after translation towards these very specific messages and very specific platforms. I don't think that's all for nothing. That seems like way too much just to be a troll to string players along. Personally, I think the game's in a prime position to do whatever it wants. It's not often that I have full confidence in a game's initial pre-launch build, that I'm already expecting it to do well, but then with a seeming lack of immediate competitors as well, I think for Embark, the cards are entirely in their hands. As a fan of games, as someone who just wants to see cool projects thrive and succeed, it's a shame that it appears that the only competition for Arc Raiders this year in Marathon is either likely to do poorly based off of recent controversy and recent perception, but also it's now possible that it seems like it may be delayed altogether. While not officially confirmed, that's kind of the whispers that people are reporting in the space, so it seems like Arc Raiders has full and prime real estate to launch whenever it really wants. If I'm playing it safe, I'm still thinking an August or September launch is the more conservative play. I think that that's something if you want to take all the time you need to refine and perfect things for a launch, that's a great option there. Apparently, I forget where I heard it, but apparently